is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Good evening, Philippines, and good day, world. I'm Ruth Hamilton. It's Tuesday, the 1st of August, 2023, and you're watching Newsline World. We're here to bring you the top stories we've gathered from all over the globe. First, Senator Imee Marcos said that she's not in favor of raising the West Philippine issue in the UN General Assembly. Marcos also strongly opposed against ending the bilateral talks between the Philippines and China. Saudi Arabia will host a Ukrainian organized peace summit to find a way of ending the war between Ukraine and Russia. The event invited 30 countries, but Moscow is not included. African countries Burkina Faso and Mali expressed support for Niger and warned those who are against the coup that an intervention could mean a declaration of war. In the United States, California is seeing a massive blaze called York Fire that continues to wreak havoc on the Mojave Desert. And Bolivia deploys more than 2,200 police officers to hunt down an alleged drug trafficker. These and more for tonight's edition of Newsline World. Bosom buddies former President Rodrigo Duterte and Pastor Apollo C. Quiboloy embark on a motorbike ride once again in Davao City. Let's know more about this with Jean Domingo.
Former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte and Pastor Apollo C. Quiboloy enjoyed the weekend exploring the streets of Davao City, this time passing over the newly inaugurated first segment of the coastal road, spanning 7.8 kilometers from Tulip Drive to Bago Playa. Davaoeños spotted two familiar faces on Saturday afternoon, plying the roads of the city: the well-loved former president and city mayor Digong, and Pastor Apollo of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ. Joining the motorcade are former Executive Secretary, Attorney Salvador Majaldea, and Attorney Garrison Gali, a litigation paralegal from California, USA. Some Davao-based aficionados also made it to the 10-man motorcycle group. After delighting some supporters with selfies at one snack joint, the motorbike convoy headed to the Davao City Coastal Bypass Road Project. This is one of the major road projects included in the infrastructure modernization for Davao City that will provide support in the city's urban infrastructure development plan. The team's final stopover was at the former president's humble residence, where they conversed about relevant issues concerning the world today.
Arnolfo Arnie Teves Jr. and 12 others as terrorists due to their alleged involvement with the private army. What is Teves' response to this? Let's find out more in MJ Mondejar's report.
Additionally, we have designated Congressman Arnolfo A. Teves and his armed group, the Teves Terrorist Group, as terrorists.
This is a declaration of the Anti-Terrorism Council or ATC against the Teves Group, which has been classified as terrorist, similar to the Mauti Group. According to the ATC, Negros Oriental Representative Arnie Teves has been clearly identified as a terrorist. The declaration also includes his brother, former Governor Pride Henry Teves.
The decision comes after meticulous investigation into their violent activities that have caused harm to innocent lives in Negros Oriental, including that of Governor Roel Digamo.
Congressman Teves was said to be the alleged mastermind behind the assassination of Negros Oriental Governor Roel Digamo last March. The government said it holds solid evidence against him.
The designation of the Mauti and Teves groups as terrorists serves as a strong signal that the government is prepared to take decisive measures against any individual or organization that poses a threat to the safety and security of our citizens.
However, Teves in a virtual press conference simply laughed off the government's move against him.
Siguro padagdag ko sa ID ko na di ba? Or padagdag ko sa ko sa CV.
He mentioned that they have known for a long time that they would be designated as terrorists. Teves' camp is currently studying options to be removed from the list. They also questioned the government's action as no case has been filed in court against the accused.
Paano mo magiging gagawing terorista yung tao? Hindi mo pa nga nakakasuhan sa court of law. Hindi ba siya guilty as a criminal? Sabay yun, terorista na? Ano yun?
Designation can come first. Pwede ding it can come after. Nagkataon lang naman dito na nauna ang desisyon ng ATC sa designation versus sa resolution ng mga prosecutors natin sa pending PI.
Now that Teves and 12 others have been declared terrorists, their assets have been frozen and cannot be accessed according to the Anti-Money Laundering Council. But can they be arrested immediately after the designation?
Dapat bumili sila ng malaking freezer, baka hindi magkasya.
Yung designation, ang consequence lang nito ay dun sa assets ng designee. Kung arresto ang pinag-uusapan natin, dadaan pa rin tayo dun sa criminal action.
With that, the government is urging Teves to be back home and face the charges against him in the proper forum. For Government of Philippines, MJ Mondejar, SMNI News.
The York fire in California continues to rage on as the largest wildfire in the state this year, causing fire tornadoes, hazardous conditions, and so-called fire whirls. Justin Nazario has the details.
California's York Fire, the largest wildfire in the state this year, continues to expand across a remote section of the Mojave Desert, scorching more than 77,000 acres or equivalent to over 120 square miles. As of Monday night, the fire remains 0% contained, posing significant threats to the region. Records revealed that this is the biggest fire in California since the Macash fire, which burned nearly 95,000 acres in late August 2021. Moreover, the firefighting efforts are underway with 389 personnel assigned to the blaze. On Monday, firefighters reported observing lower fire activity than in previous days, which may aid containment efforts and minimize risks to property and lives. However, the battle against the York fires faces challenges due to limited visibility caused by thick smoke. With visibility restricted to a mile or less in some areas, aerial support, ground crew movement, and firefighting unit communications are hindered. The impact of the York fire has been severe, with hazardous wildfire conditions leading to road closures in the area. The fire also crossed state lines, reaching Nevada, where it continues to grow rapidly and generate extreme fire behavior, including fire whirls or fire tornadoes. These fire whirls are vortexes of flames and smoke created by intense heat and turbulent winds, making them unpredictable and dangerous for firefighters. As of now, the cause of the York fire, which started on a private land within the Mojave National Preserve, remains under investigation. The York fire is just one of the 64 active large fires burning across 9 states in the U.S., with more than 11,500 wildland firefighters and personnel working to control the blazes. As of July 31, 2023, wildfires have burned over 1.1 million acres in the U.S. this year, significantly less than the previous year. Authorities urge residents in the vicinity of the York fire to stay updated on official information and follow safety instructions issued by local authorities. With the fire still spreading, California and Nevada remain on high alert for the potential risk to lives and property. Reporting, this is Minjacin Azario, SMNI News.
Chinese President Xi Jinping has called for all-out rescue efforts as northern China's Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei are hit by severe rainstorms. He urged action to minimize casualties, relocate affected people, and restore transport and electricity. So far, 11 people have died in Beijing and a further 9 have died in Hebei due to the conditions. The Chinese government has allocated 110 million yuan, around $15 million to support flood prevention and relief efforts. CGTN Sun Yi has more.
11 people have died and 27 are missing in the city of Beijing from this bout of heavy rain. And here I am at the new Shougang Bridge. This is an iconic place for anyone who knows Beijing because that's where the Winter Olympic Games in 2022 took place. But down there, that's the Yongding River. That is the river that's wreaked so much havoc in the past few days. You'll see the river is still higher than usual, even though it's the water level is slightly lower than Monday. Now this is the river whose flooding has took 2 lives on Monday in Mentogou district. That's the area that's on the upper reaches of Yongding River, and down the Yongding River stretches another bridge, the Xiaoqinghe Bridge, was crashed on Monday also because of the flooding. Now, because of the flooding and heavy rain, Beijing has relocated some 52,000 people at least by Monday to avoid all kinds of natural disasters. And then we've learned this morning, on Tuesday morning, 4 helicopters were sent to dispatch food and other necessities to areas that are affected, including those in Mentogou area where some are still unable to connect due to connect with their cell phone connection. And then there are also trains that are held up in the Mentogou area and couldn't move because the heavy rain and flooding. Now, we are at the tailspin of this bout of the rain, but in the past several days, we have seen the heaviest rainfall and the most severe situation in at least 10 years. Now, experts, the meteorologists have been telling us at least a month's worth of rainfall was dumped in the city of Beijing in the last 3 days, and somewhere else in the Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei area, they've seen it worse. They've seen more than a year's worth of rainfall dumped on that region or that area within the last 3 days. Now, even though meteorologists say the rains are coming at its end at this hour, we're here on Tuesday noon right now, but red alert for flooding and all kinds of other cautions are still going on because this is a very serious and grave situation. 分野 CGTN Beijing.
Philippine Senator Imee Marcos said it would be more embarrassing for the country if the West Philippine Sea issue between China is brought to the United Nations General Assembly. The senator also did not agree to end bilateral talks between the two countries. This report from Jason Rubrico.
Senator Imee Marcos is surprised by the apparent change of opinion of some of her fellow senators on the issue of the Philippines and China in the West Philippine Sea, or WPS. According to Marcos, some of the lawmakers were convinced by the resolution to raise the WPS issue to the United Nations General Assembly. For her, it would be more embarrassing for the country should this go ahead.
Baka i-deadma lang ng General Assembly. Mas lalo pa tayo mapahiya kung hindi tayo maiboto. No? Baka matalo pa tayo dyan sa ASEAN. Kaya ayoko kasi ng ganyan. Ayoko nakikipag-away.
Marcos added that there is nothing our country can do but to endure. However, it is necessary to convey clearly that China's alleged harassment of Filipino fishermen and intimidation of the Coast Guard and Navy should not continue. At this time, she said, it is necessary to discuss the West Philippine Sea issue calmly and properly.
I think the most important thing at this point in time is not to continue poking the panda, as it were, but more importantly, to de-escalate the tensions already existing in the Taiwan Straits and the West Philippine Sea. This kind of atmosphere will engender all manner of accidents, perhaps even violent encounters.
Marcos also did not agree to ending bilateral talks between the Philippines and China.
Hindi naman nahihinto ang bilateral talks sa kailanman. Parang mag-asawa yun eh. Alam naman hindi na kayo mag-uusap forever kahit galit-galitan. Hindi pwede yun. Lahat naman ng bansa talaga nag-uusap-usap. Kinakailangan yan at talagang ganyan ang takbo ng diplomasya.
On Monday afternoon, senators had a caucus to discuss the WPS issue. The purpose of the caucus is to come up with a new resolution that, according to Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri, will give President Bongbong Marcos an option on how to deal with the problem of territorial disputes in the WPS. Among the options is the condemnation of China and the suspension of bilateral talks between the Philippines and the said country, and the assistance of the UN General Assembly. Included in the meeting were National Security Advisor Secretary Eduardo Año, Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo, and Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Romeo Browner Jr. For God and my beloved Philippines, I am Jason Rubrico, SMNI News.
Former Palace spokesperson Attorney Harry Roque advocates putting an end to the intentions of elevating the South China Sea issue to the United Nations. The call comes amidst ongoing tensions over territorial disputes between China and the Philippines in the region. MJ Mondehari is back for more news.
The belief that the Philippines will win against China if the issue of alleged harassment of Filipinos in the West Philippine Sea is brought to the United Nations General Assembly is just a dream. That is what former presidential spokesman Attorney Harry Roque during SMNI News program Pulso ng Bayan, or Pulse of the Nation, said after Senator Risa Ontiveros raised a proposal to raise the disputed waters to the United Nations General Assembly, or UNGA. According to Roque, many member states of the UN General Assembly consider China as their trading partner.
Paulit-ulit ko na pong sinabi, wala pong kahihitnanan yang sinasabi ni Senator Risa Ontiveros na dalhin sa UN. Yan po ay pinaparot lang niya yung sinasabi ni retiradong mahistrado na Antonio Carpio. Hindi po tayo mananaig doon. 151 countries na po tumanggap ng Biyernes galing sa Belt and Road Initiatives ng China. 190 po, more or less, ang miyembro ng General Assembly. Para tayo makapasa ng resolution doon, 151 ang hindi boboto. Ang natitira na lang ay mga 40. Yung mga 40, hindi pa naman sigurado lahat yan ang boboto dahil lahat din yan ay maraming kinukonsidera na ang China ang number 1 trading partner nila. Wala naman atang bansa ngayon sa daigdig na hindi na number 1 trading partner ang China. At baka paunti na ng paunti ang mga bansa na hindi rin kinukonsidera na ang China ang number 1 na namumuhunan sa kanilang mga bansa. So mapapahiya lang po tayo dyan.
For the Philippines, Attorney Roque explained how it is difficult to consider China as an enemy since it is the country's number 1 trading partner. Currently, what concerns Roque is Senate President Mig Zubiri's alignment with Ontiveros instead of with President Bongbong Marcos Jr.
Pero alam mo, ako'y nababahala na dahil si Senator Risa, naintindihan natin, minorya yan. Kahit ano sasabihin yan, laban sa gobyerno, trabaho niya yan eh. Pero nakakabahala kung Senate President mismo ang nagsusulong ng gusto mangyari ng minorya. Kaya nga po nangampanya ang unity team para sa mga senador para merong mga kasangga ang presidente sa Senado. Bakit ganyan po nangyayari? Parang nagiging kakampi pa ng minorya ang ating Senate President. Ito naman po yung obserbasyon ko lang dahil...
To recall, Senate President Mig Zubiri contradicted PBBM's statement that the executive branch will have the final say on foreign policy. According to the Senate President, if the United States system is to be followed, then the Philippine Senate would have the final say on this matter. However, Attorney Roque pointed out that under the 1987 Constitution of the Philippines, it is the President who has the final say on foreign policy. For Ganamable of Philippines, MJ Mondihar, SMNI News.
A recent Gallup poll reveals that public confidence in the U.S. military has reached its lowest point since 1997. Over the past 2 years, trust in the armed forces has declined by 10 points, leading to a historic recruitment crisis. Noran Santos has the details.
According to a Gallup poll published on Monday, fewer Americans have confidence in their military than at any point since 1997. Over the last 2 years, trust in the armed forces has dropped by 10 points, leading to a historic recruitment crisis for the services. The poll that was conducted in June revealed that 60% of respondents expressed a great deal or quite a lot of confidence in the military, which is down from 64% last year. The last time public confidence in the military was at 60% was in 1997, and it has not been lower since 1988, when it was at 58%. After the 9/11 attacks in 2001, public support for the U.S. services surged, with the armed forces enjoying 82% approval when President George W. Bush invaded Iraq in 2003. While the post-9/11 patriotism declined as the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan continued, approval remained in the mid-70s until 2020, when it began to steadily decline year after year. Traditionally, Republicans are more likely to support the military than Democrats, but their confidence has dropped from 91% in 2020 to 68% today. As public support for the military declines, the armed forces are facing challenges in recruiting new members. Army, Navy, and Air Force leaders testified in a congressional hearing in March that they all expect to fall short of their recruitment targets this year, particularly after the Army experienced its worst year for recruitment in 2020 since the abolition of the draft in 1973. According to a Pentagon study published in March, of the 17 to 24-year-olds usually targeted by military recruiters, 80% are physically unfit for service due to obesity, drug use, or poor mental health. Furthermore, only 9% of this age group have an interest in joining the military in the first place, as stated by Army Secretary Christine Wormuth in an interview with CNBC News in October. Reporting, this has been Loren Santos, SMNI News.
Bolivia has deployed more than 2,000 police officers as part of a massive manhunt for an alleged drug trafficker who is believed to be in the city of Santa Cruz. Naomi Perez reports.
32-year-old Sebastian Marcet Cabrera is accused of trafficking tons of cocaine from South America to Europe, as well as murdering anti-drug prosecutor Marcelo Pecci, who was shot dead while on honeymoon in Colombia in 2022. The massive manhunt called Operation Marcet began Saturday when authorities tracked the Uruguayan national and his family down to a luxurious mansion in Santa Cruz. Reports says Marcet narrowly escaped arrest in a white Land Cruiser to the neighboring province of Cochabamba after being likely forewarned of an imminent raid. According to Bolivia's government minister Eduardo del Castillo, the 32-year-old is currently the most wanted in Bolivia and is also being sought by Interpol, the Drug Enforcement Administration, by the countries of the region such as Uruguay, Brazil, Paraguay, as well as the United States. Bolivian officials say 8 properties were searched on Sunday. 17 rifles, a pistol, ammunition, bulletproof vests, goods. 31 cars, a motorcycle, and even exotic animals were found. Marcet is known to have a long history of evading capture, and as of now, the massive search for him continues. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Naomi Perez, SMNI News.
Two neighboring countries of Niger announced the sanctions imposed by the Economic Community of West African States against the junta in Niger, saying that intervention would mean a declaration of war. Jane Cognita has the details.
Following the coup that ousted Niger's elected President Mohamed Bazoum, the country is now in the hands of the junta, led by General Abdurrahman Tiani. And while the United Nations urged all parties to show restraint, West African leaders on Monday treated the Niger junta, ordering it to stand down or face punitive measures if it fails to reinstate Bazoum in 15 days. At the same time, the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, issued its own ultimatum on Sunday, saying that they would take all measures necessary to restore constitutional order in Niger, including the use of force if Bazoum is not reinstated within a week. To this, the military and governments of Mali and Burkina Faso warned the West and other African states against intervening in Niger. Their first ever joint communique stated, and quotes, any military intervention against Niger would amount to a declaration of war against Burkina Faso and Mali, end of quote. The joint communique has also been repeated 3 times during a state television broadcast by the military spokesman of Burkinabe. The statement further said that in case of an intervention, Mali and Burkina Faso would withdraw from ECOWAS and adopt self-defense measures in support of the armed forces and the people of Niger. Both countries also condemned ECOWAS for sanctioning Niger, calling it illegal, illegitimate, and inhumane. Both countries also warned that a military intervention in their neighboring country could destabilize the entire region, as had the unilateral NATO intervention in Libya, which was at the root of the expansion of terrorism in the Sahel and West Africa. A Financial Times report said that France currently has 1,500 troops as well as a drone base in Niger. The United States, on the other hand, has 1,100 troops and 2 drone bases. Burkina Faso and Mali have sought to sever their ties to France and rebuild their respective countries with Russian assistance. And it seems that the junta leader of Niger is also severing its ties with Paris after the military announced that it would suspend the export of uranium and gold to France. Niger is the 7th largest producer of uranium in the world, accounting for 4% of global output. Reporting, this has been Jane Cognita, SMNI News.
Saudi Arabia will host a Ukrainian-organized peace summit to find a way of ending war between Ukraine and Russia. Melchizedek Cadiz reports.
The head of the Ukraine's presidential office, Andrei Yermak, confirmed that Saudi Arabia will host talks in early August to assess the situation in Ukraine and discuss a peace plan. The summit will be attended by national security advisors and political advisors who are expected to discuss the implementation of Ukraine's peace formula in Jeddah. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has first introduced the 10-point peace plan to the global leaders during the G20 summit in Bali, Indonesia in November of last year. In December, Zelensky urged world leaders to support his idea for a global peace summit that would focus on peace plan. Ukraine's 10-point peace plan calls for the implementation of radiation and nuclear safety, food security, energy security, prisoners and deportees, United Nations Charter and Ukraine's territorial integrity, as well as world order, Russian troops and hostilities, justice, immediate protection for the environment, and prevention of escalation, and confirmation of the end of the war. The Ukrainian Peace Summit will be divided in 3 phases, with the first phase, one held in Denmark on June 27th, the second phase to take place in Saudi Arabia in early August, and the last phase to possibly take place by the end of the year. Western allies have promised to support Ukraine with more weapons during the 2-day NATO summit in Vilnius, Lithuania, earlier this month. However, Ukraine's NATO membership remains unclear as member states are divided whether to invite Ukraine to the alliance. Reporting, this has been Melchizedek Cadiz, SMNI News, Kuwait.
A public outrage over safety concerns and intense light emissions prompted the dismantling of the massive X logo that was atop the former Twitter headquarters in San Francisco City. Francine Sagarino tells us more.
The gigantic and illuminating X sign that was hastily erected atop the Twitter headquarters has been taken down following a wave of complaints and safety concerns. The sign was installed just 3 days before its removal and sparked a massive uproar among nearby residents. The removal of the X sign took place on Monday morning, July 31st, putting an end to the controversy surrounding the unauthorized installation. No permit was required for the sign's removal, but the building owner must now secure a permit to avoid further violations. According to reports, the San Francisco Department of Building Inspection received 24 complaints over the weekend, expressing concerns about the sign's structural safety and its blinding illumination. Numerous residents reported being startled of the intense strobe of white light emanating from the X logo, with some mistaking it for lightning or a police siren. The controversy escalated when the city's police prevented workers from removing Twitter's original bird and vertigo logo from the building, citing safety risks due to the absence of safety measures for pedestrians. Despite the mounting complaints, the X sign remained in place for a few days until the city took action to address the safety and permit issues. The Department of Building Inspection launched an investigation and found that the X sign was installed without the necessary safety permit. San Francisco City's Inspector Patrick Hannan revealed that he attempted to access the building's roof to address the complaints, but his request was denied twice. He further clarified that the building's owner would face fines for the installation and removal of the structure, as well as covering the cost of the department's inspection and investigation. Reporting, this has been Francine Sagarino, SMNI News.
More than 2 weeks after Russia left the Black Sea Grain Initiative, Croatia will now be opening its ports to Ukraine to help the war-torn country export its grains. Details of this report from RJ Perez.
On Monday, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba held talks with his Croatian counterpart Gordon Garlish-Radman. During his visit to Ukraine in hybrid format, Kuleba participated online as he was in self-isolation after testing positive for COVID-19. The two officials agreed on a possibility of using Croatian ports on the Danube River and the Adriatic Sea to help Kiev export its grains. Croatia also offered Ukraine to use its rail network as another method of transit for the said good. In addition to grain exports, Kuleba and Radman also discussed weapon supplies, preparations for an international conference on demining Ukraine, which is set to take place in Zagreb in October, and the 10-point peace plan Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced in 2022. It can be recalled that Russia left the Black Sea Grain Initiative on July 17th this year. In effect, this threatened the global food security, leading to food shortages and rising prices. According to the UN's Joint Coordination Center, 57% of the foodstuffs exported from Ukraine over the past year went to developing countries and 43% to developed countries. Ukraine also supplied 750,000 tons of grain to the World Food Program, or WFP, which was sent humanitarian aid to countries like Afghanistan, Djibouti, Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen, according to the UN. Meanwhile, the European Union says that Ukraine supplied the WFP with more than 80% of all its grain over the past year. Currently, Ukraine relies on land export routes via the European Union as well as an alternative route via the Danube River. This has been RJ Perez reporting, SMNI News.
Japan is set to approve its first domestically developed coronavirus vaccine called Daichirona. Ria Saito has the details.
Japan is expected to approve the Daichirona RNA vaccine after the panel of experts of the country's Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare endorsed Daiichi Sankyo Company's plan to manufacture and sell the said drug. Japan's Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare is expected to formally approve RNA vaccine Daichirona soon. It can be remembered that in January, Daiichi Sankyo applied with the Health Ministry to approve its vaccine, which is intended for third jobs. Meanwhile, the panel of experts said it will continue to assess the application of another Japanese drug maker, Shionogi & Company. This company applied with the ministry for approval last November for its recombinant protein-based preventive vaccine intended for first and second jobs. Japan is currently using US-made messenger RNA vaccines developed by Pfizer and Moderna. Starting September, the ministry plans to introduce vaccines that correspond to the Omicron subvariant, the XBB. Japan has agreed to buy vaccines from American companies Moderna and Pfizer. 以上、日本からセテリアニスタ伝えしました。SMNI News Japan.
Local farmers in South Korea face growing pressure amid calls to ban and eliminate the dog meat industry, a trade that has existed in the country for centuries. Kim Sung reports.
Dog meat farmers in South Korea worry for their future after lawmakers and animal rights advocates joined forces in urging the National Assembly to create a legislative bill that will permanently ban the industry in the country. The centuries-old practice of eating dog meat is neither explicitly banned nor legalized in South Korea. Over the years, its popularity has declined as more and more people want to end the industry for good. Campaigners are pushing not only for the public awareness of animal rights, but also worry how the industry could affect South Korea's international image as a cultural powerhouse and a home to K-pop superstars. For centuries, the consumption of dog meat in the Korean peninsula has long been viewed as a source of stamina on hot summer days. An opposition lawmaker who submitted a bill to outlaw the consumption of dog meat last month argued the industry comes as a shock to foreigners who perceive South Korea as a cultural powerhouse. But efforts towards the passage of an anti-dog meat law continue to face obstacles due to protests by farmers, restaurant owners, and others involved in the dog meat industry. According to the Dog Farmers Association, the number of farms nationwide has dropped by half from a few years ago, while the number of dogs slaughtered each year declined from several million down to 700,000 to 1 million dogs. Soli Soboga Kim Sang-imnida, SMNI News, South Korea.
Singapore flags and symbols have new rules aimed at easing regulations while ensuring stronger safeguards that will allow wider expressions of solidarity and national pride. Renju Modeclilio for the report.
August 1st marks the day that citizens will see a significant shift in the regulations concerning the use of the national flag, as the government has announced a more relaxed approach to the public display of the national flag to foster a sense of patriotism and unity among the people. To further clarify, Singapore's national flag can now be displayed by individuals and organizations without prior permission, except in specific restricted areas, such as military installations and sensitive government buildings. The new approach is intended to encourage people to proudly display the flag on various occasions, including national holidays and events that celebrate the nation's achievements. While the rules regarding the national flag are being eased, the Singaporean government has simultaneously implemented stronger safeguards for the use of national symbols. This move comes as part of an effort to protect the sanctity and cultural significance of these symbols. With the new regulations, the use of national symbols, including the national anthem, emblem, and other significant symbols, will be subject to more stringent oversight. To use of any of these symbols in public events or media platforms, individuals and organizations will now be required to obtain prior authorization from the designated government authorities. Additionally, the penalties for any misuse or disrespectful treatment of national symbols have been enhanced to ensure that they are treated with the utmost respect and dignity. Offenders may face substantial fines or even legal consequences for any violations. The updated regulations reflect a careful consideration of public sentiment and a desire to preserve the cultural heritage attached to these symbols. The government's decision to ease the rules on the national flag's display is seen as an opportunity for citizens to show their love and respect for the country freely. As we approach Singapore's National Day, citizens are urged to familiarize themselves with the updated guidelines on the use of the national flag and national symbols to avoid any unintentional violations. This has been Renju Mudikilio, SMNI News, Singapore.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that his country will need more assistance from its Western allies until their conflict with Russia ends. But at the same time, the wartime leader also asked a BRICS member country for help. Carlo De La Peña reports.
Nothing is enough for Ukraine in its fight against Russia. This is what Ukrainian President Volodymyr said in an interview with Brazil's Globo News broadcaster this week. Zelensky was quoted saying, "As long as the war continues, nothing can be enough." Zelensky stressed that his country does not only need weapons, but also assistance in what he called as an information war, as well as more humanitarian assistance. Interestingly, the Ukrainian president also called on his Brazilian counterpart, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, to supply the mining equipment to Kiev. Zelensky said, quote, "I appeal to President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva to supply Ukraine with the mining equipment to clear the farmlands that Russian forces has mined and have now been retaken by Ukrainian troops." The Brazilian President Lula could also help Kiev by organizing a meeting with Latin American leaders in which we could talk. Zelensky also said that he would never ask Lula to supply his country with weapons because he knows that Lula would not provide it to his country. Brazil is a member of the BRICS, an economic bloc composed of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The Ukrainian president's plea to Brazil comes just weeks before the BRICS Leaders Summit will take place in host country South Africa. In its fight against Russia, Ukraine has received a whopping $185.6 billion of Western aid by early summer 2023, as per the data from the Kiel Institute for the World Economy. It also reported that some of Ukraine's Western allies shouldered additional costs because they also need to accept refugees coming from Ukraine. And just last week, the Pentagon announced that it will provide additional security package for Ukraine worth $400 million, and this includes anti-tank missiles and air defense. But apparently for Ukraine, this is not enough, and its constant need for assistance had led to tension between Ukraine and its Western allies. It can be remembered that during the NATO summit in Vilnius, Lithuania in July, Zelensky criticized NATO for its indecisiveness on Ukraine's leadership bid. Zelensky's words earned the ire of UK Defense Secretary Ben Wallace, who at the time told reporters that Western allies are not like the online delivery service Amazon. Wallace also said that Western allies want to see gratitude from Ukraine for the military aid that has been provided to them. Reporting, this has been Carlo De La Peña, SMNI News.
Australia welcomed a decision by the United Nations scientific advisors to stop the downgrade of the Great Barrier Reef to an endangered World Heritage Site. Shayna Salim reports.
Australian officials once again breathed a sigh of relief after the world's largest reef system, under its care, managed to avoid being placed on a list of World Heritage Sites categorized as endangered. In a report, UNESCO acknowledged the positive steps taken by the Australian government to protect the reef, since representatives sent by the agency visited Queensland in March last year. The agency's scientific advisors, however, warned that the planet's biggest coral reef remains under serious threat due to global warming and water pollution. In November of last year, UN experts recommended that the world's largest coral reef system be added to the list of World Heritage in danger due to threats including rising ocean temperatures. But UNESCO issued an updated report in Paris on Monday, which asked to re-evaluate whether the famed tourist attraction in Queensland fitted the World Heritage in danger criteria. Due to heat stress, the Great Barrier Reef has suffered a series of mass bleaching events since 2017. Australia's draft recommendation on how to improve the situation of the world's largest coral reef system will be discussed at a meeting in Saudi Arabia in September. which will be attended by 21 countries. Reporting from New South Wales, this is Shina Selim, SMNI News, Australia.
Bangkok earned the prestigious title as a top city of choice for digital nomads worldwide. Anisa de Guzman has the details.
The capital city of Thailand outshone all its competitors in this year's rankings of the best cities for digital nomads. A survey released by Commercial Search, a renowned platform specializing in working and co-working spaces, granted Bangkok the prestigious title. The evaluation process involved assessment of cities across the globe with populations exceeding 400,000 residents and completing data in all their metrics. 57 cities emerged as top contenders, with Bangkok placing first and outshining its competitors. Key factors considered for the rankings include affordability, internet speed, co-working costs, fun factor, and safety. The diverse set of large, well-connected urban centers in the Thai capital present outstanding choices for those embracing the digital nomad lifestyle. The digital nomads are those people earning a living while working online in various locations of their choice, have flocking to Bangkok or the smaller northern city of Chiang Mai for years due to low cost of living, fast internet, a great food scene, and a nearby airport, to name few. In September 2022, Thailand launched its 10-year long-term residency permit, also known as the Digital Nomad Visa. The visa seeks to attract wealthy and highly educated people to move to Thailand for a period of up to 10 years. Di siya Anisa de Guzman, Rangan Chakuntep Mahanakon, SMNI News, Pratat Thai, Sawadika.
In our sports news, the Philippine Football Federation extends gratitude to Coach Alan Stajic and assistant coach Noel Ararte following their departure from the national team. Meanwhile, athletes in the 2023 Palarong Pambansa are expected to become future world-class athletes, according to President Bongbong Marcos Jr. Justine Nazario tells us more.
Filipinas team manager Jeff Cheng confirmed the departure of coach Alan Stajic and assistant coach Noel Ararte from the women's national football team. According to Cheng, after the conclusion of the women's national football team's campaign in the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup, the contracts of both coaches have come to an end. He further stated that neither of them renewed their contracts. In response to this, officials from the Philippine Football Federation expressed gratitude to Stajic and Ararte for the honors they brought to the Philippines. This included the qualification of Filipinas in the FIFA Women's World Cup 2023, as well as their first victory against New Zealand. Under Stajic's leadership, the Philippines also achieved the bronze medal in the 31st Southeast Asian Games held in Vietnam last year and won the AFF Women's Championship. Stajic expressed his gratitude to the national team for the opportunity given to him as head coach. To recall, Stajic's contract was previously extended until the conclusion of the FIFA Women's World Cup in March 2022. Meanwhile, President Bongbong Marcos Jr. believes that the athletes participating in the 2023 Palarong Pambansa will be the next world-class athletes who will raise the Philippine flag in international competitions. According to the president, many Filipino athletes have won and gained recognition not only in the Philippines but also on the world stage. As of now, there are approximately 1,573 medals ready for the 34 sports, with 9,172 delegates this year. The competition also features traditional games such as kadang-kadang, tumbang preso, and patintero. In addition to traditional games and other sports, there are also demonstration sports such as weightlifting, obstacle course, esports, cheer dance sports, and pencak silat. In his final message to the athletes, PBBM encouraged them to think of themselves as champions and to compete with skill, fairness, and integrity. August 1st marks the official start of the Palarong Pambansa and is set to conclude on August 5th, 2023. Reporting, this has been Justine Nazario, SMNI News.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the message of the appointed Son of God. Your decision now will determine your future here in the kingdom. That's all for today's edition of Newsline World. For more news update, you may visit SMNINewsChannel.com or follow us on our official social media accounts on Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Ruth Hamilton. Thank you for watching Newsline World, and thank you to our beloved pastor, Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy, for the opportunity to be a part of this program. May continue to listen on SMNI as it delivers nothing but fair, truthful, and balanced news, because SMNI is your source of